Hey guys, Chad here with MyDailyBourbon. It's Friday. Let's get all those out of the way. I wanted to talk about a sample that I forgot that I had sent to me by a couple bourbon. They sent this to me a while back. We exchanged samples. I was going reorganizing, putting some samples into my little sample box, and I found this. This is the Parker's 8-year Heavy Charred Rye whiskey. Comes in at 52.5% alcohol, so 105 proof. So what's unique about this is that it is a heavy charred rye. So usually rye, char level is, there's light char, char 1, there's char 2, char 3, which is usually what Heaven Hill uses on everything's a char 3. There's char 4, which is kind of the prominent char within the industry. Most people go with a char 4 just so you get those heavy wood, heavy sweet notes in there. Because once you char for that long, those caramels and those vanillas really come out, kind of help sweeten it up. But a heavy char to them is a char 5. So what makes that different is there is no determination of a char level, how much it burns the stave. What that means is how long it's charred. So usually, you got char 3, which is charred for a certain amount of time. This char 4 is charred quite a bit longer. So I believe a char 3 for them is about 35, 40-ish seconds. I could be way wrong on that. And I think the heavy char was done for somewhere over a minute. I don't know the exact numbers on that. I honestly didn't do much research on this. I found the bottle, was excited, so I grabbed my phone and figured I'd shoot a video. So once again, thank you a couple bourbon for sending this my way. I am super excited to try this. Cannot believe I forgot to. And once again, can we just appreciate Tobias's label game here? On point as always. Give her a swirl so I can get a sniff. All I know is you immediately get some of that rye spice in there. A little bit of heat, a little bit of the ethanol, but not a lot. Now the mash bill on this is one thing I looked up, was the mash bill. So 51 corn, 51 rye, 35 corn, 14 malted barley. So barely legal rye, just that 1% mark to get where it should be. Do get some earthy notes in there from that higher malted barley content with that rye. It's also pleasantly sweet due to the high corn content. So I'm getting some burnt caramel in there. That ethanol strong. I felt that going down my throat. A little pungent. It's not like an immediate astringency or like ethanol. It's, you sniff it, and then once that air goes down through your, through my neck, I can feel that ethanol burn. Burnt caramel, definitely getting some charred oak in there. A little bit of vanilla. A little bit of a black tea note as well. Let's give her a taste. Immediately, you get a nice, really strong cinnamon note, but it's mixed with a little bit of black pepper. That charred oak from that heavy char kind of throws it off. So the cinnamon's really sweet, but I'm picking up some black pepper, like some fresh cracked black pepper on the back of my palate. But getting that chocolate oaky note in there with the pepper kind of throws it off a little bit for me. Getting a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of floral from the malt and the rye. It's got a very nice citrus note in there. Now rye ages or matures a lot faster in the barrel than bourbon does. So to see an 8-year rye is pretty crazy. Most ryes are typically around, 4 years old, some around 6. But to see one, I mean, a lot of craft distillers these days are putting them out at 2 and 3 years old, and they're making, fantastic products at that age. But to get one that's at 8 years old is pretty cool. I know some Knob Creek store picks you can usually find 5 to 7 years, and if you can get a 7-year one, those are pretty spot on, pretty awesome for the price, around 50, 60 bucks. But definitely I enjoy the rye flavor that's coming out of this at 8 years old. It's got a very rich, the caramel note on the nose translates to the palate. Super rich, like burnt caramel. That's very good. After a couple sips, there is a nice sweetness that's kind of killing off that black pepper note that was really kind of bothering me on the first sip. There's a very good, I would almost like a toasted marshmallow. It's kind of, whenever you're at a campfire or just any way you roast a marshmallow. And you can smell that outer layer of sugar burning. That smell is I don't want to say aftertaste. That smell is one of the lingering notes I get on the palate or on the finish. It's a very nice note on the finish because the cinnamon's pretty much the star of the show here. There's not a ton going on the finish besides the cinnamon, but that little bit of that like burnt marshmallow really adds a nice little textured layer to it. Now this is a 2019 release. This year was a 10-year-old Heavy Char Bourbon, which I've also not had, but I cannot wait to find or see who I can kiss up to get a sample of. But this came out last year. I believe it was either 125 or 150, I can't remember. But this year's 10-year-old bourbon is, I believe, $125. So I imagine this would have been right around that same price range. But I feel like it costs more. I feel like I was surprised when I seen the pricing come out for the 10-year bourbon this year, thinking that it was pretty crazy they would price something higher age cheaper. But I'm gonna give it a little more pour of this. I'm actually quite enjoying it the more I get into it. First couple sips kind of threw me off. So after pouring some more, kind of getting into it, getting some leather on the nose this time. Still getting a little citrus. That earthy floral note in there. Still getting that charred oak. But that that burnt caramel on the nose is awesome. It really kind of hides, well, it doesn't hide, it helps hide that astringency that's there on the nose. Because I don't know what it is. I mean, it's 105 proof, but I wouldn't expect 105 proof to have such a sharpness to it of ethanol. I mean, I've had things that are lower, it just depends on the juice itself, how it's barreled, how it's stored. But I mean, I've had stuff that's much higher that doesn't have this kind of astringency, so that's kind of off-putting. After having, a full glass and then adding some more, the oak tannins are really starting to shine through. So this is definitely, to me, this is definitely something you don't want to just have one pour of and be done. This is something that you want to, if I were going to do a full review of this like I normally do, where I usually do 3 to 5 pours of something over a span of time or over the course of one day if I have a day off, I would keep coming back to, because this actually keeps building. At first, I wasn't thinking like this was going to, after my first sip, this was going to blow me away. But now that I keep sipping on it, the complexity of it's kind of starting to show. Now I'm getting some of that dark cocoa, that heavy char still there, getting that nice burnt caramel, that toasted marshmallow. But now it seems like those chocolate notes and those tannins are kind of separating. Kind of almost like, instead of just dark cocoa or dark chocolate. You know, there's more kind of hidden in there, kind of getting like a mocha coffee note, some leather, a little bit of a tobacco note. So some of the earthiness in there has kind of transformed into a tobacco note. Very much like that of a dark cigar. Yeah, this is definitely something that is meant to be enjoyed over time, not within like, you know, a 15-minute video where someone just grabs it, tries to sip on it, tell you as much as possible. This is definitely meant to be a rye that you're gonna pour you know, 1 or 2 fingers of, or 2 or 3 fingers of. For most people, I usually try and keep it light so I can enjoy more varieties at one time. But you're gonna sip on it over time. You're not just gonna sit there and sip, sip, sip. It's gonna have a sip, relax, do something, read a book, whatever. This is meant to be enjoyed and just kind of made part of what you're doing. Like if I were going to clean the house or sit and read some news articles on my iPad or something, this would be a pour I would do with that. Because usually if I want to sit and read something, I want to sit and read for about an hour, hour and a half, catch up on my news, maybe watch some YouTube videos, or, you know, look up just what's going on in, you know, bourbon world today. This is a perfect pour for that, just because it keeps changing over time. But let me know your guys' thoughts below. Are you a fan of the Parker's lineup? Also, I forgot to mention, one of the cool things about the Parker's lineup, Parker Beam, is they donate money to ALS research. And so every bottle that someone purchases, you know, there's money donated from that. And that's cool. So that's kind of why there's a higher price point. So not only are you kind of helping out a charity, but you're getting this limited expression that kind of has meaning behind it. They're not just trying to pump something out. Now, do I think that they probably get to a point to where they're like, or they might get to the point to where, what are we gonna do next? We've kind of covered all of our bases, and they're gonna kind of, you know, throw out some odds and ends stuff. I do. I think that's kind of already happened. But I hope the future of this lineup, they kind of expand. I'd love to see them expand other bottlings with Heavy Char. Like, you know, what would a you know, an Elijah Craig Heavy Char be? Or like a step up from a Henry McKenna line. Like, can we see a branch off of that? Now, I know 99.9% of all their bourbons have the same mash bill, but it would be cool to see how they can kind of venture out from that. But let me know below what you guys thought of this video, what you thought of my review. Are you a fan of the Parker's Heritage lineup? Do you even like Heaven Hill? Let me know below. Cheers, y'all.